My name is Nikki Lerzak. I'm the Instructional Services Librarian at Genesee Community College, and this is Empirical Articles. What the heck are they? An empirical article is a scholarly research article. It is generally written by professionals and for professionals. It is not aimed at the general public. It is not the sort of reading that the general public would normally engage on for fun or pleasure. These are research articles. They are not based on personal opinion, though, of course, most research does start from a belief that you feel that something is either true or untrue. But the empirical article will then take that to the step of finding out. It will do the research to find out if their beliefs are actually true or not. Most of these articles are what are known as peer-reviewed articles, and the peer review process is very stringent. In order to meet peer review, an article must present original research, something that was not known before, and the articles must really be written up in a way that makes it very easy for someone else to follow up and replicate their research, because all good research must be able to be replicated. It was as though someone gave you a chocolate chip cookie recipe that when you followed the steps you ended up with peanut butter. You have to end up with the same thing they ended up if you take the same steps that they took. So it's well documented, it's good research, and it presents new information. An empirical article really does have a checklist of things that you can expect to find. You can just about always expect to find that it will start with an abstract. It will then go on for several paragraphs doing this thing called a review of the literature, or a lit review. It will have the most important section, the methods section, which is made up of the participants and the procedure. It will then give you the results of what was found out. It will end with a nice discussion, and generally it will have a list of references at the end. An abstract is a summary of the article. It does tell you here's what you're going to be getting into. Here is an actual research article. This is Sense of Coherence, Coping Strategies, and Test Anxiety as Predictors of Test Performance Among College Students. This was published in 2008 in the International Journal of Stress Management. And as you can see, after my citation information up there at the top, I do start with an abstract. The review of the literature, that lit review, comes after my abstract, and to see what one looks like, let's scroll through, and you will notice something about the first several paragraphs. There is a lot of blue here. I've got last name and year, and when I mouse over it I actually get much more information, at least in this database. Not every database will do that. But what this is the researchers are saying, you as a researcher may be familiar with many aspects of scholarly research, and I won't explain what scholarly research itself is or my methods, because you'll understand them as a researcher. But you may not be familiar with my particular topic, so they're going to use this to say, here's what we know about our topic to date. It's a nice summary of previous research, because I'm presenting something new, but I'm going to set my stage here by saying, here's what we already know. And while you'll know research in general, you will not necessarily know my topic, so I'm going to present all of the previous research, including maybe even some of my own if I have done previous research into this topic. I'm telling you what it is I intend to prove, I'm telling you what we already know about our topic, and the important research that's been done on it to date. This can go for a little bit, depending on the article itself. And in fact, this article even ends that whole section with their hypotheses. This is what they intend to prove. Now, the method. This is an important section. The method section tells me two very important details, and this is where a lot of students might find that they have a problem. If your article never actually gets to the who and the what, you do not have, or you very likely do not have, an empirical research article. I like to describe this as the giant blinking neon asterisk that is visible from space. It's that important. If you can't find this section, you may have a problem. So, the who, in this case, I can see are 216 first-year undergraduates at a major university in the north of Israel, the Faculty of Social Welfare and Health Sciences. They were enrolled in courses. There were this many of them. There were this many women, this many men. They were this age, and I've got ethnicity as well, and I also know how much they work per week and their parents' level of education as well as their income. Generally, you will know a lot of details about your participants, some maybe even more than you care to know, but you will know about them. The what aspect, the procedure, tells me how and what did I do with my who. Did I make them run an obstacle course? Did I make them fill in a survey? It's really whatever is necessary for me to get the data that I am looking for. In this case, you'll notice that they give me a list of instruments, and these are the study instruments. Instruments is the fancy way of saying, here's what I used. And they used many different instruments here. They had a scale, they had data, they measured their test performance, and then tells me how exactly did they go about getting this data. That's my procedure. So what were they looking for and how did they get it? The results. Now, once I've told you here's what I intend to prove, and here's what we know about it to date, my lit review, and once I tell you here is the people I used, and here is the research instruments or the methods that I was going to get that information, clearly at this point the next thing should be well, here's what I found out, because now I should have done my research. And I'm going to give you lots of numbers here. As you can see, we suddenly get into tables and charts. There are numbers, where before there was simply words. So if you're not a good math person, or if you don't really understand what standard deviation, because that often comes in, you might want to just prepare yourself, because that's what this section looks like. The discussion section follows the results, and it tells me a bit about my research. I can't assume necessarily that you understand the importance of my research, so I can now take my time to explain it. Here's what I found out, and here's now why you should care. Why is this important? I can also show you if perhaps I didn't prove what I intended to prove, or if perhaps I found out something that conflicted with my hypothesis, if there were limitations to my study. So I'm going to kind of wrap up why is this important, why should you care, plus the oops, maybe this didn't work out as expected, and here's why. It does also then provide considerations for further research. This is a section where someone could say, well, we found something out, but there was something else that we thought was intriguing, which would definitely be a good place for other people to do their research. And here's my discussion. And interestingly enough, again, we've got a sentence here that says, in contrast to our hypothesis, SOC and test performance were not related. Lastly, my article ends with references. These are all of those people that were cited earlier in my article. It gives me the title of their article, the journal they were published in, and the date and all of that. It is a works cited, or if you've done an MLA paper before and had to do a works cited, or a Chicago paper and had to do a bibliography, the references are simply that full listing of the materials that were used in support of writing the article. More often than not, you will find that empirical articles are cited in the APA style, which goes generally hand in hand with more scientific writing. In this particular database, and I happen to be in Psych Articles, you will notice that these articles, where they appear in this database, I can go to them. I could go to specifically the section in this article that the current article I'm reading is pulling their information from. So information about my article, the article itself, or the particular section that my article is citing or grabbing something from. A references list does give me a great place to find related research, because obviously the authors of my current article would not have included these articles unless they had some bearing on the current research. Now obviously they are older, because I can't cite anybody newer than me, only older than me, but it is still a great list of resources, and this is, call it laziness, but fabulously appropriate scholarly laziness, is to use the references list of other people to find related stuff. It's not laziness, it's good scholarship. So hopefully you have got a better sense now of what a good empirical article looks like.